The area where we were heading in, Eastern Europe, was known for its radioactivity. We had received reports of strange animals, things that looked like they were hatched from a mad scientist's laboratory. I didn't know how much of it was believable because some of the descriptions that the survivors gave sounded more like a wendigo or a dogman or anything other than a real animal. I figured that in the heat of the moment and under attack, their minds were likely twisted from the true form of these animals, horrifying as they were, into something truly nightmarish. There were 3 of us heading into the dark Eastern European forests. My friend Dmitri, who was originally from the country that knew the language as well, his girlfriend Anna, and myself. Everything seemed mundane enough as we flew into the country and handed over our passports. There was no sign of the horrors waiting for us ahead. The first towns that we encountered looked idyllic enough that we just drove through them with a rental car. Isolated farmhouses with cows and chickens dotted the landscape. Plentiful fields of wheat, potatoes, and corn stretched on all sides of us. The black earth here was very fertile, I knew. As we headed deeper into this radiation zone, however, the houses and the farms all started to be abandoned and dilapidated, the fields barren and dead. Christ on a cracker, I muttered, more to myself than to my friends. This place looks like it's suffering through the apocalypse or something. It did, Dmitri said grimly. A nuclear apocalypse. I feel like the biblical one is far more optimistic than the true apocalypse will be. In reality, there is no rapture, no victory of light over darkness. If there ever even was a World War III, every majority city will just be consumed by nuclear fire. It will throw buses and cars thousands of feet into the air and spilling out bodies onto the burning skies. Entire streets will collapse, trapping countless of millions under the rubble. Well, that's a cheerful thought, Anna commented, her dark blue eyes staring out the window. I saw the reflection of the white eye skittering across the brush outside. Small animals that disappeared in front of the approaching roar of the engine. How far is it? I asked, feeling carsick and anxious. It reminded me of driving through parts of the Northern California area before, when I had reached out the window. Anna and Dmitri seemed unaffected though. I cursed my stomach, which was always turning traitorous towards me. It's gonna be a while, man, Dmitri said. This country is huge, probably another 3 or 4 hour drive, and then we have to start walking. Good thing we left before dawn, Anna said, stifling a yawn. She had a can of some cheap Russian Red Bull knockoff, some fluorescent green cap, and it kind of smelled like chemicals. But she drank it as if it were just the finest French wine. I gazed out at the dark forest that passed us on both sides, wondering what kind of sights lay ahead of us in this land of the damned. The sun rose early over the gently rolling hills and the black earth of Ukraine, sending its rusty streaks of blood across the sky. The going had been easy so far, except for the constant car sickness I felt. I took a few pills of meclizine, wishing that I could just have smuggled some weed gummies through the customs. But here, cannabis is illegal, and I was not eager to see the inside of an Eastern European prison, where lunatics like the 3 guys 1 hammer maniacs and the cheeseboard killer lived in hellish conditions. Holy shit, would you look at that? Dmitri said with awe, wonder oozing out of his voice as the car braked abruptly. I looked up quickly, my stomach doing flips. But what I saw laying across the road instantly brought me back to the moment. Dmitri pointed a tattooed hand at the sight. Is that real? Anna asked. I could only shake my head as if we were all staring at a dead bear that just laid across the cracked asphalt, its dead eyes staring straight through us. I noticed immediately that this bear had extra paws on its arms. Blood-stained claws jutted sharply out of its 4 paws. Each seemed to have 7 fingers. Its feet looked stunned and twisted, like the roots of a tree. An extra arm stuck out of the front of its chest, a pale white fleshy growth emerging from its sternum. The mutated limb looked malformed and boneless, causing a sense of revulsion to rise up as I gazed on it. It flopped gently in its heavy wind that swirled down the surrounding hills. Well, I guess the rumors are true, Dmitri said slowly, his eyes as wide and excited as a child. Can you imagine what other kinds of things must be lurking in these forests? This is going to make a really awesome documentary. Anna nodded, playing with the small, handheld digital camera she took everywhere with her. She wanted to make a video that would finally go viral on the internet and help her gain recognition for her work. I'm going to record everything, including this, she said excitedly, brushing a lock of blonde hair behind her ear as she opened the door to the car. Dawn had risen overhead, radiating the first warm rays of the bright summer day. After a long moment, I followed her out. Dmitri stood at her side, his eyes dark and wide. He ran trembling hands over his shaved head as he looked down on the enormous bear. Anna zoomed in with the camera, kneeling down before the still beast. Her finely formed fingers shook with excitement as she drew within inches of this corpse. I wondered how the bear had died, as I didn't see any signs of injuries or anything on this creature's body. The next moment, I saw it blink. I backpedaled away, giving a hoarse, guttural shout of warning. Anna was busy staring at the screen of the digital camera, scanning it across the bear's big extra fingers and limbs. But the panic that swept over Dmitri's face showed me that he too had seen it. He grabbed Anna's arm, dragged her back with sudden fury. She stumbled, her legs crossing under her. She crashed into him, and they fell back together. A moment later, the bear came to life, its bones cracking as it twisted its head to look at all 3 of us. It swiped a mutated paw at the place where Anna's face had been only moments ago. I heard the sharp claw slice through the air like switchblades. The bear's head ratcheted over to glare at us. It gashed its teeth as silver streams of saliva flew from its shaking head. With a primal roar, it leapt off the ground. I turned to run back to safety of the car, but I nearly tripped when a pale figure out of the forest came out right in front of me. It looked like something conjured up in a nightmare. It was naked and bloated, its skin white and bulging with pink cheeks. It looked to have like a combination of human and pig features, and yet it ran upright like a person. Its irises were blood red, its pupils huge and excited. Its beady eyes flickered over Anna, and a low, satisfying growl erupted from its wide throat. I watched the muscle work ferociously in its porcine body as it sprinted towards her. Before Dmitri or I could even react, the pig thing grabbed Anna around her neck, its sharp, black fingers digging deeply into her skin. She squealed like a strangled rabbit as it dragged her away into the dark Ukrainian forest. Its pink lips pulled back an excited grimace, revealing the sharp fangs underneath. I heard its guttural growls fade away rapidly. It sprinted much faster than a person, its hooves slamming the ground over and over like superhuman speed. "Hey!" Dmitri called excitedly, taking a step forward. "What do you—" A giant bear paw with too many gleaming claws smacked his leg out from under him, sending him flying. I only stood there, shell-shocked and amazed, as Anna disappeared into the trees. A single moment later, the bear rose to its full height, roaring at us. Streams of spit flew from its mouth as its rancid breath washed over us. Breath that emanated a smell like roadkill and infection. I put my hands up, flinching, expecting a blow that never came. When I looked up, the bear had gone back to all fours. It ran in the path that the pig creature had gone. Its white, boneless extra limb hanging limply on its chest. "What the fuck?" Dimitri cried on the ground, rolling back and forth. I came back to life, running over to his side. I saw deep gouges, marks slicing up through his blue jeans, bright streams of blood lazily dripping from its claw marks on his leg. "We need to get help," I cried, shaking him. His eyes looked far away and confused, as if he didn't fully realize what was just happening. "We need to go back and get the police." "The police?" he asked, laughing. "The police won't do anything. You think they're gonna travel all the way out here into a radioactive zone just to find a missing person?" He shook his head grimly before reaching out to my hand. "Help me up. There's a first aid kit in the car. We need to bandage this up. Then, we're going after Anna." We had no way to call for help. The phones this far out into Chernobyl didn't work, and there were never any cell phone towers built in this silent land. After Dimitri had disinfected and bandaged his legs, he rummaged through the trunk, looking for weapons. "God damn, there's nothing good here," he said angrily. "Some bear mace and some knives. What good is any of this going to do against these mutated monsters? We need a damn AK-47. I nodded in agreement. "Too bad we're not in the US, I said. "The only guns you're gonna get around here are the ones that you take off of bodies of Russian soldiers." "Yeah, if only," he muttered sadly, handing me a large folding knife. "We have 1 canister of bear mace, 3 knives, and a tire iron. Not exactly an arsenal." I really didn't want to go into these dark woods, but thinking of Anna being tortured or murdered made me feel sick and weak. I shook my head, mentally torn. "Here, take the bear mace too. I'll take the tire iron and the knife," he continued, forcing the black canister into my numb fingers. "You ready for this?" "Absolutely not," I said. "I think we should try to find help. If we both go in there and get slaughtered, no one will ever find Anna." "The nearest town is 2 hours west of here," he responded icily. "By the time we get there, her trail will have gone cold. It will take at least 5 to 6 hours to get any rescue out here. No, we need to do this. And we need to do it now. If you don't want to come, I'll come," I said grimly, my heart pounding. "Fuck it." Dimitri had a sad history as a child, living in Ukraine. He had been kidnapped by an insane neighbor and kept in a dirt pit outside for weeks, wallowing in his own piss and shit, slowly starving. He said the man would have thrown down a stale crust of bread and rice cakes into the mud and human waste every few days. Dimitri would pull the food out, wipe the feces, and eat it. I shuddered remembering those horror stories that he had told me. I knew he had a personal reason for making sure Anna was not subjected to the same endless suffering, even if it meant for his own death. The bear and the pig creature had left a clear trail of broken brush and snapped twigs snaking through the forest. Side by side, we moved cautiously ahead, constantly checking our backs, but we saw no signs of movement and heard nothing. Up ahead, the trees abruptly opened up, letting golden sunlight stream down. Blinking quickly, we left the forest behind. We walked out into a field in the middle of the valley surrounded by tall, dark trees. Grass and weeds rippled in waves as the wind passed us. Formed a semicircle in front of us, human skeletons lay endlessly, dreaming. They stared up into the vast blue sky with grinning skulls and empty sockets. Some still had putrefying strips of flesh and ligaments clinging into their bones. Animals had scratched some of the bodies, but others lay complete, like corpses in a tomb. Human skulls, leg bones, and arm bones lay scattered haphazardly across the field, their surfaces yellowed and cracked with age. It looked like a bone orchard. "What are we looking at right now?" I whispered, furtively glancing around the field of bones. An insane part of my mind wondered if they might rise from the dead and come after us. Compared to what we had seen in this place of nightmares, it didn't seem far-fetched. Dead bodies, Dmitri said grimly. Victims of the nuclear accident? I asked. He shook his head, pointing at some of the fresher corpses nearby. Their throats looked like they had been ripped out, the bones of their necks showing deep bite marks. The one nearest to us had its skeletal fingers wrapped around a glass bottle with a piece of paper that rolled up inside and a cork inserted into the top. I knelt down, prying the fingers back with soft, cracking noises. I uncorked it and took a look at the paper. It felt thick in my hands, like some kind of handcrafted paper from the old days. The cursive following across the sheet looked like it had been written in a quill pen and with actual ink. In confusion, I read the letter aloud. Rules to survive in the Halskin Nature Preserve. Number 1. The cult known as the Golden Butchers has been kidnapping women to breed them with pig creatures. They worship the offspring that result from the unions as gods. If a member of your group gets taken, you will find them in the living farm at the end of the forest. Number 2. If you encounter Mr. Welcome, the enormous pig god with the eyes on its forehead, you must not let him touch you. Number 3. The red snake can only see while you're moving. If you encounter them, stay still. Don't even breathe. Breeding women with pig creatures? Dmitri cried, horror washing over his face. We need to find her, but where do we even start? I looked through the field, trying to see any signs of tracks, but it looked like hundreds of animals had gone through this field recently. Paths of tall, crushed grass crisscrossed in enormous lengths of it, some of them worn down to black dirt and stone. I just shook my head, having no idea. A distant scream rolled its way down the surrounding hills. It came from our left, sounded very much like Anna. Dimitri's eyes turned cold. Without looking back at me, he started frantically running towards the sound. It faded away within seconds. Wait up! I cried, sprinting as fast as I could. His freshly shaved head gleamed as he disappeared into the trees. Gripping the open buck knife in my hand, my knuckles white with tension and fear, I followed after him. You guys know that I've got to always give you guys a cliffhanger. I've been wanting to do this story for a while, but I could just never really get into it until now. And I finally am getting a little bit of relief from my back, so it's kind of nice to actually be able to finally do this. This is going to be a 2-part series, maybe a 3. It's quite a long story, but I've got to get up with the author and see if he's already brought out some more for it. But if you like this and you would like to hear a lot more like this, make sure to like, comment, and if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. I've got a lot of content and a lot more coming. I just ended up having to take a little bit of a break because I had a serious injury and I'm still not 100%. According to the doctor yesterday, he told me that it's going to be quite a few weeks. So I'll try to get as many videos out as I can. I'm already over a week without an upload, and I apologize for that, but we'll get back to it. But with that being said, make sure to check out the links in the description, like Twitter, Instagram, everything like that, including the Gmail, yada yada, you know what to do. But with that being said, stay safe, stay scary, and I'll see you in the next one.